You ever have one of those neighbors that's not a problem until they suddenly are? See, I live out on land that's been in my family for generations. My great-granddad carved out this farm with his bare hands and a stubborn streak longer than the Mississippi. I've kept it going, not because it makes me rich, but because it's home. Quiet, honest work, no HOA, no nosy busybodies, just me, my cows, and the occasional wild turkey dumb enough to challenge my fence line. Well, technically, there is an HOA. A gated community sprouted up a few years back, just east of my back pasture. Neat little clone houses, beige everything, mailboxes lined up like soldiers, lawns trimmed like they were measured with laser levels. I didn't care much. They stayed on their side, I stayed on mine. Then Karen moved in. I don't mean a Karen. I mean the Karen. The final boss of suburban entitlement. High heels on gravel, clipboard surgically attached to her wrist, and sunglasses so big you'd think she was hiding from federal agents. Within a week, she'd basically staged a coup at the HOA meetings and declared herself queen of the cul-de-sac. And not in a funny way. She didn't just walk her yappy designer dog. She paraded it, like a royal procession. Her car never touched a puddle. Her voice could cut glass. The other residents, bless their pressed khakis, just nodded along like sheep hoping the wolf would eat someone else first. Me? I figured, not my circus. Not my clowns. Until she turned her circus toward my land. It started innocent enough. One afternoon I was coming back from checking the south fence line, and I noticed a shiny white SUV parked along the road by my west field. It wasn't just parked, though. It was lingering. Out steps Karen, arms crossed, head tilted, looking over my land like she was picking curtains. I slowed my truck just enough to make eye contact. She stared back. One of those slow, challenging glares you see in old spaghetti westerns. Then, no joke, she nodded at me like I was some hired help and got back in her car. I knew that nod. That was the, I'm about to do something stupid and act like it's your fault nod. Sure enough, 2 days later, I caught her walking along the edge of my pasture. She wasn't alone either, had that same damn clipboard and a measuring tape. I walked up slow, boots crunching dry dirt, and said as politely as I could, "Something I can help you with." Without even looking embarrassed, she said, "Oh, just scoping out the best spot for our HOA social nights." I blinked. "I'm sorry, you're what?" She smiled, like I was the dumbest thing she'd seen since the wrong color mulch at Lot 17. "We're thinking about doing themed weekends, you know? Brunches, live music, wine tastings. And this land has such a rustic charm. I think it'd be perfect for our outdoor series." I chuckled, loud and slow. "You do know this is private property, right?" She waved her hand like she was swatting a fly. "Oh, please. It's not like you're using it. It's just grass. Besides, it's good to share. Builds community. You should really think about what you can contribute." "Contribute," I said. "Lady, this isn't a potluck. This is my damn land. You and your brunch brigade can take a hike before I turn the cows loose. They've been constipated all week, and I'd be thrilled to let them express their feelings." She scrunched up her nose. Savage. And with that, she stomped back to her car, heels stabbing into the dirt like she was personally offended by the soil. I watched her leave and muttered, "That's right. Go back to HOA-topia before the livestock learns how to use bolt cutters." But that wasn't the end. Oh no. Couple days later, I spot her again, this time with a group. They're clustered near the north fence, Karen in front, flapping her arms like a deranged traffic controller. I walked up, slow and steady, boots tapping like a metronome of "You done messed up." She didn't acknowledge me at first, just kept pointing at things like she was running a real estate show. "Karen," I said. "Nothing." "Karen," louder this time. She turned, rolled her eyes, and went, "Oh, you again. You're trespassing. Again. This is your last warning." She huffed. "Relax. We're just visualizing. You want a visual? I got a bull named Hercules who likes to visualize by charging anything that wears perfume and polyester." She hesitated. I saw the gears grinding in that oversprayed head of hers. Then she gave a little hand flick like she was shooing pigeons. "We're leaving." As they shuffled off, I muttered, "Is there a college course for this crap?" Entitlement 101. How to be an absolute menace. I knew it wasn't over. People like Karen don't listen, they escalate. So I did what any country boy with common sense and a security budget would do. I upgraded the fence cameras. Full perimetry, night vision, motion tracking. Hell, I even set them to notify my phone the second someone sneezed within 20 feet of a fence post. Didn't take long. That weekend, I went into town for supplies, feed, parts for the irrigation system, and maybe a cold beer and burger from Marv's Diner. Drove back late afternoon, sun low on the horizon, casting those gold and amber shadows across my fields. And then I heard it. Bass. Not a cow. Not a tractor. Bass. I pull up near the south fence, and what do I see? A goddamn party. On my land. Tents. Tables. One of those portable wine bars. A DJ with a man bun and sunglasses so big he looked like an alien fly. And right in the middle, Karen, in some sparkly suburban camo cocktail dress, living her best illegal life. Wonderful, I muttered. Looks like it's time to shut the mousetrap. I backed up just enough to get out of sight, walked over to the access gate they used, and quietly shut it. Then I drove home, grabbed my phone, and hit 2 buttons. First of all, electric fence, on. Secondly, Sheriff's Department, call. Yeah, hi. This is James Callahan over at County Road 12. I've got a whole HOA chapter trespassing on private farmland. Loud music, unauthorized gathering, potential damage. You might want to bring a notepad. I smiled. The game was on. I took my time walking down the hill to where the party was raging on my pasture. The kind of smug satisfaction I felt in that moment, let's just say it was better than the first cup of black coffee on a cold morning. They were all out there in full HOA cosplay, pastel polos, khaki shorts, sun hats, and stemless wine glasses clutched like holy relics. I counted at least 30 of them. That's 30 trespassers and one queen bee in the middle of the hive, buzzing like she owned the place. Karen saw me before anyone else. I was still a ways off when her head snapped in my direction like a security camera detecting a threat to her imaginary monarchy. She did a little stage sigh, like she was auditioning for some suburban soap opera, and dramatically called out, "Oh, you again." I stopped just at the edge of the fire pit they'd set up. Yes, they actually built a fire pit, and folded my arms. "You're on my land, Karen." Again, didn't think I needed to explain no trespassing with crayons, but here we are. She scoffed and turned to her guests. "Ignore him. He thinks he's the sheriff of Dirt County." I smiled. "And what exactly are you going to do? Scare us with your cows again?" That got a few chuckles from the mimosa mob. One guy in a salmon shirt, probably named Chad, actually said, "Do we get to ride them this time?" I chuckled along with them. "Nope. No cows today." I pointed casually over my shoulder. "No. Karen, you don't understand. It wasn't me was locked up with you. It was you were locked up with me." Karen blinked. "Locked in? Electric? Around the whole perimeter. Just turned it on." She gave a little laugh. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I nodded toward the far corner where I knew the fence line was weakest. "Go ahead. Try it." Karen narrowed her eyes and made some kind of hand signal to one of her loyal lackeys. The man, probably another HOA foot soldier looking to impress her royal tantrumness, walked over to the fence and reached out like he was expecting to open a garden gate. Zap. The sound was small. His scream wasn't. He jumped back like he'd just tried to pet a lightning bolt. Everyone froze. Then chaos. Someone dropped their drink. Another guy stumbled backward into a folding table. A woman shrieked and pointed at the fence like it had personally insulted her Instagram. Karen's voice wobbled. You can't do that." "Actually," I said, stepping closer, "I can. It's posted, it's legal, and, fun fact, you're all on private property. Without permission." Again. "But we didn't damage anything," Karen said quickly, sensing the walls closing in. I tilted my head. "Karen, you built a fire pit on top of my alfalfa. You dragged speakers across my irrigation line. And your DJ over there," I pointed at the man-bun menace, "has been standing on top of my underground water valve for 2 hours." Her jaw opened, then closed, then opened again. What are you going to do?" "Oh, I'm not doing anything." I pointed behind her. "They are. Blue and red lights. Sirens. The kind of music HOA folks usually only hear when they call the cops on a teenager playing guitar in his garage. 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up right to the fence. I clicked the remote in my pocket and deactivated the gate. The deputies stepped through, hands on their belts, not quite drawing weapons, but not looking thrilled either. "What's going on here?" one of them asked. I raised a hand. "Private landowner. Name's James Callahan. Came home to find a full-blown HOA wine festival happening on my land." I warned them. Multiple times. Got it all on camera. Karen jumped in, voice sugar-sweet but cracking at the edges. "Officer, it's just a small gathering. A community event. We thought this land was common property. You know, green space." One deputy turned to me. "Sir, is this true?" I pulled out my phone and tapped through the footage. "Nope. It's privately owned. Has been since 1887. My family's farm. This is a recording from last Tuesday. Her walking in uninvited. And this one's from earlier today. Her and a dozen others setting up tents. I've got motion sensors and timestamps on all of it." The deputies watched the screen, then looked at each other, then back at Karen. One of them asked, "Ma'am, did you have permission to be on this property?" Karen floundered. "Well, not explicitly, but I mean, he never said no." "He did," I said, crossing my arms. "Twice. In person. And on camera." The deputies nodded. "Would you like to press charges, Mr. Callahan?" Karen's eyes widened like a deer in a Whole Foods parking lot. "Absolutely," I said. "Criminal trespass. Property damage. And whatever else you think applies." Her jaw dropped. "You wouldn't." "I would," I smiled. And I just did. One of the deputies started writing things down. The other one began lining up Karen's entourage and taking their names. Some of them protested. Others just looked like they wished they'd stayed home watching reruns of The Bachelor. As they herded the whole beige brigade back toward the gate, I caught Karen giving me a death glare strong enough to fry eggs. I tipped my hat. "Hope your next party has better luck with venue selection." They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Personally, I prefer mine served with a sheriff's notepad, a fried electrical system, and the sound of Karen's voice hitting that panicked high note only dogs can hear. By the time her little HOA hootenanny got marched out of my field, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the pasture. It would have been peaceful, if not for Karen's screeching. "I demand to speak to someone above you," she shrieked at the deputies, who were too seasoned to take the bait. One of them, Deputy Harmon, just said flatly, "Ma'am, the only person above me out here is probably this gentleman's scarecrow." I smiled. That particular scarecrow was wearing one of my old flannels and a straw hat that looked like it had been in a bar fight. But it still had more sense than Karen. As they finished up taking names and statements, Karen tried one last Hail Mary. "You know, this isn't over. I have friends on the county board. This land might not be zoned properly. There could be violations, easements, permits. I'll have a lawyer crawling all over it." Deputy Harmon sighed, clearly done with her drama. "Ma'am, you built an illegal fire pit on a man's property while trespassing. I'd worry about your own legal exposure before going full Matlock." She didn't like that. But what really broke her, what shattered that perfectly contoured suburban illusion, was when Harmon handed me the official statement form and asked, "Want to include a damages estimate for the irrigation line and pasture?" I said, "Sure do. I've got quotes from the last time a tractor ran over the line. Should be easy to apply." Karen's face went pale. Like, just saw her credit score drop 30 points pale. "Wait, he's charging us." "Damn right," I said. "And judging by the state of your wine bar setup, I'd say you've got the funds." There were some gasps. A few mutters from the other partygoers, like, "I told you this was a bad idea," and "She said it was public space." Suddenly, Karen's army wasn't looking so loyal. The deputies corralled them out, one by one. No arrests yet, just formal complaints and warnings, but that was enough for now. I knew what came next. Paperwork, court dates, and sweet consequences. By Monday, it was all anyone in the area could talk about. Apparently, word spread faster than spilled wine on a white HOA lawn. Karen and the Vineyard Vandals, someone called them on the local Facebook group. A meme popped up with her face photoshopped onto a queen's body holding a wine glass and the caption, trespass, and Chardonnay. Delicious. Of course, Karen tried damage control. She marched into the HOA board meeting that Wednesday looking like a deflated Macy's Thanksgiving balloon. Same floaty dress, less air in the ego. "I've been sabotaged," she said. "This man has waged a vendetta against me because I tried to create community. Some poor guy, I think his name was Greg, probably voted in by accident, timidly raised a hand. Didn't he warn you?" "Like several times." Karen narrowed her eyes. "Are you taking his side?" "No," Greg said quickly. "Just trying to take the side that's not getting subpoenaed." There it was. The tide had turned. The same sheep who once nodded along with her now couldn't make eye contact. You could practically hear the sound of friendships being quietly deleted from group chats. But Karen didn't quit. Not at first. She started walking the HOA streets like nothing happened. Clipboard still in hand, sunglasses on, pretending like the fire pit party from hell was just a minor hiccup in her suburban ring. And then the paperwork hit. The civil complaint I filed, complete with security footage, timestamped trespassing, and the bill for damages, made it to her doorstep, along with a few other letters addressed to her HOA buddies who had laughed when I mentioned the fence. I kept it civil, professional. No need to scream when the law does it for you. That next weekend, silence. No music. No SUVs parked near my field. No Karen. Just me, my cows, and the glorious peace of justice served. For a few days, I thought maybe, just maybe, she got the message. That maybe she'd back off and go back to micromanaging hedge heights and mailbox paint colors. But like a bad rash, Karen wasn't done yet. Because the next move? Oh, it wasn't another party. It was a complaint, filed to the county zoning office. Yup, Karen tried to report me. Claimed that my barn violated local setback codes. That my fence might be too high. That my irrigation setup was impacting neighborhood aesthetics. That last one really made me laugh. I live on a working farm. My aesthetic is mud, hay, and whatever the cows left behind that morning. I got the county letter on a Tuesday. Read it over lunch while eating a leftover brisket sandwich. By the time I'd finished the last bite, I was already planning my response. See, Karen forgot one thing. She might have had a clipboard, but I had receipts. Let me tell you something about land that's been in your family for over 100 years. You don't just own it. You know every rock, every post, every permit that's ever been pulled. You could blindfold me and drop me anywhere on this farm, and I'd still know which fence post was replaced after the 2008 thunderstorm and which patch of grass hides the irrigation valve cap. So when I got that little envelope from the zoning office with Karen's fingerprints all over it, I wasn't worried. I was annoyed, but I wasn't worried. Her complaint was a poorly stapled stack of passive-aggressive nonsense. A few blurry photos, some printouts of vague ordinances, and one paragraph that genuinely accused me of aesthetic aggression. What in the sweet hell is aesthetic aggression, you ask? Apparently, it's when your property doesn't match the HOA's visual harmony. In other words, my cows weren't neutral-toned enough. So I went ahead and did what Karen never expected. I played her game. I called the zoning office myself. Spoke to a nice woman named Charlene, who, judging by her exhausted tone, had already fielded one too many calls from someone with a freshly purchased clipboard. When I mentioned my name, she sighed and said, "Oh, you're the farmer. That obvious? Let's just say you're the first call I've had this week that not started with the words community wellness space and ended in veiled threats." I sent over my documents, land deeds, permits, fence plans, a signed letter from the inspector back in 2016 confirming everything was above board. I also sent over screenshots of Karen's little trespassing party and a copy of the ongoing police report. Silence for a few days. Then, a follow-up email from Charlene. All complaints have been reviewed. No violations found. Case closed. Attached, a short but glorious PDF titled, Zoning Complaint Resolution, No Action Required. I printed 3 copies. One for my records, one to hang on my fridge, and one to tape to my mailbox facing the HOA entrance. Just in case Karen tried to stage a second coming of the wine apocalypse. But I wasn't done. Because Karen's party had done more than piss me off. It had trampled my fence, scorched a patch of pasture, and snapped 2 of my irrigation heads clean off. I'd already filed a police report, but now it was time for the other kind of justice. Civil court. I hired a local attorney, Clay Boone. He's the kind of guy who still wears BOLO ties unironically and treats courtroom silence like a dramatic pause in a Clint Eastwood movie. When I gave him the case file, he didn't even flinch, just nodded slowly and said, "Oh, we're gonna eat real good off this one." We filed charges: trespassing, property damage, and unlawful assembly. Karen, of course, tried to countersue. She showed up to the first mediation in a blazer that looked like it had been chosen by someone trying to cosplay as a lawyer from daytime TV. She had a printed folder with color-coded tabs and highlighter marks that probably took her 3 whole evenings to prepare. Most of it was fluff, buzzwords, and quotes from Wikipedia articles on community engagement. Clay barely looked at it. Just slid our evidence across the table: high-res photos, time-stamped security footage, and the zoning office's dismissal letter. Karen looked like she swallowed a lemon whole. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered something to her. Probably, "We're cooked." Because here's the thing about people like Karen, they operate best in echo chambers. HOA board meetings, wine nights, online forums where everyone agrees that fences are aggressive and backyard chickens are a menace to civilization. But courts? Courts deal in facts. And the facts were simple. She trespassed. She damaged my property. She hosted a damn illegal event and then lied about it. The court date was set, and the weeks that followed? I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy them. Every time Karen passed my farm on her morning power walk, she sped up. Every time her fellow HOA wine warriors spotted me in town, they got real interested in the floor tiles of the gas station. And then came the final hearing. The courtroom was quiet. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional squeak of someone shifting in their chair. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table, tight-lipped, wearing a beige suit that probably cost more than my truck's tires, but had all the charisma of a soggy napkin. I took the stand, told the story straight, showed the footage, explained the damages. Every time I mentioned trespassing, I saw her flinch a little. Karen's lawyer tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, a miscommunication. The judge raised an eyebrow and said, "Ma'am, misunderstanding does not explain 27 adults, a fire pit, and a DJ." In the end, the ruling was clear. Full restitution, legal fees, a formal warning for future trespassing. Karen's face when the judge said, "And I strongly advise you stay off Mr. Callahan's property unless invited." It was like someone popped her ego with a dart. Outside the courtroom, she couldn't even look me in the eye. But I looked right at her, tipped my hat. "See you at the next HOA party, Karen." "Oh wait, you're probably not invited anymore." The funny thing about justice? It doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes, it just arrives in the form of silence. Blessed, glorious silence. After the ruling, it didn't take long for the social fallout to hit Karen like a pallet of unreturned Amazon boxes. The HOA grapevine lit up like a dry Christmas tree. Some tried to defend her at first. She just wanted to bring people together. But that didn't last. Turns out, getting sued on behalf of your wine-sipping party crew isn't a great way to maintain brunch invites. A few HOA members who were at the party tried to distance themselves immediately. "Oh, we didn't know it was his land." She said she had permission. She told us it was a surprise community event. Yeah, surprise all right. Especially for the one who actually owns the damn property. The Facebook Moms group turned on her faster than a raccoon in a garbage can. Screenshots of the party went viral in the neighborhood thread, especially the one where she was holding a glass of rose while standing under my posted, "Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted" sign like it was decorative. One day I was picking up feed at the co-op and overheard 2 of her former disciples whispering in the corner aisle. I heard she might sell her house. I heard she got dropped from the HOA board. I heard she's considering a quiet relocation. Translation: Karen was done. And like a badly written TV character in the final season, she just disappeared. No farewell party. No apology basket. Just gone. One moving truck, one miserable afternoon, and the queen of the HOA was dethroned. Some said she moved back to the city. Others said she tried starting a wellness blog. Someone even claimed they saw her applying for a permit to host healing picnics in a suburban park 3 counties over. Wherever she went, one thing was certain. She wasn't my problem anymore. And my land, mine again, untouched, undisturbed, and utterly cow-friendly. The grass started growing back over the fire pit site. The irrigation heads got replaced, and the fence? Oh, I upgraded it again, just for good measure. New signs too, big bold ones that read, "Private property. Trespassers will be shocked." Literally. People got the message. Now when HOA members pass by my fence, they speed up just a little. Nobody lingers. Nobody nods at my field like they're shopping for it on Zillow. One guy even crossed to the other side of the road when he saw me coming up the drive. Guess he didn't want to get zapped by eye contact. And me? I got a decent payout from the court case. Covered the repairs, the new cameras, and left enough for a little something extra. Finally added that solar-powered gate system I'd been putting off for years. Now the cows can't get out. But more importantly, Karen can't get in. I sit on my porch most mornings, coffee in hand, boots up, watching the sun rise over the fields. No wine bars. No pastel khakis. No DJ named Sage. Just quiet, open land and the sound of my electric fence clicking like a heartbeat. Sometimes I smile to myself and think about that moment when she said, "And what are you going to do? Scare us with cows again?" And I told her, "No, Karen, you don't get it. It's not me locked in here with you. It's you locked in here with me." Damn right. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.